So do you think you're ever actually gonna go back and watch through like all of the Star Wars movies, like the ones you haven't seen and everything?
Probably not at this point.
Like, are
It's
you
fucked
just
up.
fully a forward-thinking Star Wars fan?
I mean, yeah, because if if my grandkids ask me where I was when the Death Star, like I wouldn't, I don't care that much about like the Death Star necessarily, but like I fuck with the new folks, and like I don't know, like I like being a part of, like I like understanding Star Wars memes now, because like the Star Wars meme community is fucking hilarious, but like I don't know, I'm one of those like, if the effects of a movie don't hold up by modern standards, then I'm going to be distracted by it. And
How
like,
do you do with black and white movies?
I mean, with that, it's more of like it's further back, so where I'm just like, I'm more impressed that, like, oh wow, like while this was happening, fucking, I don't know, just whatever. I can't think of an example, but like I loved Casablanca. I loved like The Artist when they. When that everyone thought that was going to be the big thing for a second,
Right.
and it was awesome. Like I loved it. So like, it's not that I don't like old movies. It's just that like some old effects, it'll turn me off. And honestly, like historically, I've just, I know this is going to upset you. I've like not been a fan of puppets. So like with the original trilogy, like I don't know. Like once I saw Ewoks, I was just like, I don't need to see these.
Yeah, but those aren't
these
puppets.
movies. Sure,
Weird example.
but like okay,
Like I feel like the only puppet example in the original trilogy, apart from like background aliens, is like
it was like Yoda.
Yoda. I guess Jabba counts as a big, large puppet, but
I don't know. I mean, it's. I'm just thinking the little furry who gives a shits.
So you're fully
Ewoks.
not watching Dark Crystal then, right?
No. Those things freak me out. Like it's more of like a childhood fear thing that I've never gotten over more than anything else. Like I know it's irrational. I know that like puppeteering is like like it's an art, and like I do have like I don't know. Like I have an appreciation for it from like a production standpoint, but like from a enjoyment standpoint, it just doesn't do it for me. And that's a bad reason to like write off some of the most influential movies of all time. But also, I've seen like I feel like gun to my head, I could pull the plot of Empire out of my ass if I needed to. Like,
Now, do it.
okay, so we start off and Luke is going to Dagobah, and no, he's on Hoth,
Yeah.
and they're doing the whole AT-AT fly around the thing and then make him trip and fall over.
Okay.
But then somehow the Empire gets into the base, and Luke then goes to Dagobah. Mm-hmm. And then when he gets to Dagobah, Yoda is like weird and secretive for some reason, and like just does not say that he's Yoda. And then immediately after, he's just like, "Okay, I'm Yoda."
Right.
And then tells Luke like, "You gotta, be one with the Force." And like, also Luke crashes X-wing into and the whole test is that he has to lift the X-wing out of the lake, swamp, whatever.
It's like
and
a test, yeah.
and running with a backpack and Yoda in the backpack, I assume. Is this where the first like little floaty training droid thing?
No,
pops
that's
up?
in the
No,
first
that was
one.
in. I did. Yeah, I saw that one because with Obi-Wan in the hut.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Dagobah, I don't know what the fuck everyone else is doing. I think Boba Fett doesn't show up
that's
until
half of the other movie, half of the movie, but yeah. Yeah,
What,
what's
like,
Han, Chewie, C-3PO,
I know what Luke's
Leia,
doing.
what are they all doing?
they're not captured yet.
They're not
Wait, no.
captured yet. That's true.
Wait, okay, I know that Han Solo gets frozen in carbonite by the end of the movie.
How
I'm
do we
pretty
get
sure
there, though?
Is this Cloud City and Lando Calrissian?
Yeah.
And the double cross.
Yep, this is double cross.
So like they walk into the room and then like Vader's just there and they're like, "What the fuck?" And he's just like, "Money." And
Money and the safety of his people, but yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's
like,
a selfish move. Don't get me wrong, but
it's selfish, but it's not
slightly
like
more justified.
it doesn't make him
than
a
just
bad
that.
guy.
Yeah, he doesn't just sell his friends out.
Mm-hmm. And is this where Boba Fett takes Han Solo and
After
the whole,
he's frozen? Yeah.
Okay, in Frozen in Carbonite, the whole "I love you, I know," which is like I've seen that scene and that's good, but I'm also like I don't want to watch the 2 hours surrounding this. I don't know, man. Fucking, I don't know what Chewie's. I have no idea what Chewie's. He's probably just freaking out this entire time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Are the droids doing anything
blown
of note?
up and he carries him. What? He carries his parts around and then reconstructs him later on the Falcon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, I did not know about that part.
Yeah.
But
R2 and R2's with Luke, but once they all get back together, it's like he's like helping Chewie with 3PO and everything, and
word.
They're just
that
like,
must be like
it's like all the little non-human side characters just kind of having fun.
But all the minorities in one
freaking
scene.
out and yeah.
God.
I mean, you got most of it.
Yeah, like Family Guy and Robot Chicken and just other. I don't know. Like Star Wars is like a part of culture now. It's like the modern myth. So like,
I feel like everyone has those things where they've seen the parody before they've seen the original. Yeah. And that doesn't always ruin the original, but it definitely is a different way of viewing it.
Yeah, Weird Al definitely like skewed my views of music at an early age.
Yeah, definitely. I can't hear Gangster's Paradise now without thinking of Amish Paradise, and I never have been able to. It just sounds like the wrong song that I'm listening to.
Like White and Nerdy is the primary song, and like Right and Dirty is like the trap offshoot. Yeah, so I mean,
it's the cover. It's the parody of the parody.
God, how far into abstraction do you think parodies would have to get to become fully original?
Well, that was
like 2 songs, 3 songs.
30 Rock.
Oh, really?
Because Jenna has a song and in like her movie or whatever, and then Weird Al parodies it, and she's all mad about it, and everyone's like, "Don't mess with Weird Al, like he's untouchable." And then she tries to release a unparodiable song, so it's like already about pizza and stuff.
Wait,
and then he parodies it by turning it into like an actual love song. It's really funny.
I think I've seen that, but I didn't know that was 30 Rock.
Yeah,
like I assume it's all like it's like weird glamour. He's in like a wig. Oh, yeah,
okay. He's in a blonde wig. He's pretending to be Jenna. Yeah.
Okay, so I've seen that clip isolated. I need to go back and rewatch 30 Rock. 30 Rock's really good.
Yeah, it's so funny. There's no real connection to Star Wars there, but I mean there is the Weird Al connection to Star Wars. So
was anyone in? I'm trying to think if there's any like cameo crossover.
No, I mean the only person I could think of would be like if Alec Baldwin had been in like the original trilogy or something, but no, he wasn't.
Or like if he voices a character in the prequels.
I'm sure there's someone who was in Star Wars who had like a cameo in 30 Rock, but probably not because they were in Star Wars.
I mean, Tracy Morgan was the God damn it. I got the timing all off on that. I was trying to say he was the stand-in for like the stunt double. God damn it, stunt double for Palpatine.
Nice, you nailed it.
I totally nailed it. That was great.
Yeah,
welcome to Loosely Defined.
Yeah,
friends.
welcome to Loosely Defined, and this is the Star Wars episode.
Woody.
Hopefully we haven't entirely missed the hype or controversy train because it seems to be 50-50, if not more.
No, I think Star Wars is completely irrelevant. Star Wars is completely irrelevant now.
Yeah, no, we've completely missed the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people would, we can kind of start with that. I mean, a lot of people would, the fandom's in a weird place because there's this sense that because of it's not even the bad reaction to the sequel trilogy because like the only one that was poorly reviewed critically was Rise of Skywalker, and like Last Jedi definitely had like some fans pissed off, but you know, I mean, I would venture to guess it's not actually the minority or the majority anyway. Like it's just the loudest voices in the room on Twitter and Reddit and stuff like that. But this seems to be the sense that because the new franchise clearly didn't have a plan, and the movies seem to at least contradict each other in terms of like themes and whatnot, not necessarily continuity or anything, but that Disney has no idea what they're doing with the franchise, and they're kind of just going one step at a time, which that last part might actually be true, but I think people seem to have this sense that that's not how most franchises do it. Even the Marvel movies, like they have they have some plan, but I feel like you can kind of tell that until maybe phase 3, there wasn't like the build to the end of the Infinity Saga was like not really there, other than the fact that like Thanos was in the back, was really just cameos, like
he had like zero character development until he had all of the character development. Like
all you know is that he's there,
he wants the stones,
that he's mean, and then finally at the Age of Ultron end credits scene, they fully confirm like, okay, he's doing an Infinity Gauntlet thing. But yeah.
Back to Star Wars. Like, I feel like the backlash is so weird because a lot of the arguments that I'm seeing are like, as someone that is still relatively new to Star Wars fandom, like a lot of the arguments just seem so like both sides. Just I don't give credit to either of you. Like and there's so much anger and passion behind it. Like, I get it. Like, this is, like, I haven't been along since childhood, but, like, for those that have, I understand. This is, like, this is the ultimate nostalgia, and they've been marketing this as the last Star Wars, so, like...
Yeah. Which
is not true at all, but, like...
That always pissed me off. I was just like, stop it. You're not, like, obviously they're trying to get a similar, like, endgame hype to it, but it just, like, it's so clearly they're not, especially when that same year they announced 3 more movies, like, in the next decade, so,
Star Wars is ending. Also, TV we need to cast.
Like, yeah. I mean, but that's the thing. I think the other stuff outside of the films is doing perfectly fine, so when people really talk about, like, the wall that they're against creatively, what they really are talking about is the movies. I would even think that most fans who like hated The Last Jedi, hate the sequel trilogy, and want it to kind of go back to where it was with Lucas, like for the most part I would guess those fans are at least content with Mandalorian, if not blown away by it, like a lot of other fans were. So and a lot of those fans are also the Clone Wars fans and stuff like that. So outside of the movies, it seems like Star Wars is, succeeding with audiences, succeeding with critics, like obviously making, and across the board, it's definitely making money, especially in the films. I mean, they've made I think they bought Lucasfilm for $4 billion, and they've made like $6 billion at the box office, and that's before merchandise, that's before, the theme parks and everything. I mean.
Galaxy's Edge apparently is like awesome.
Like exactly, like Disney has without a doubt capitalized on the purchase and are better off now than they were before they bought it. Yeah, whether or not Star Wars is better off is still up in the air because I mean, even though I'm a fan of the sequel trilogy and a lot of the stuff they've put out since, like there's aspects of the pre-buyout Star Wars that I enjoyed. Like some of Legends was pretty cool. There's a lot of like some of the games like Knights of the Old Republic, Force Unleashed I enjoyed, but
Force Unleashed is dope.
I still support the reboot that they did, and I think that what they've done with the new I think what they've done with the lore since resetting it has been more good than bad. And my only real and even though I think the new movies, the sequel trilogy, didn't necessarily add enough new cool stuff to the lore to really expand it. I mean, visually, it's such a callback to the original trilogy, unlike the prequels, which went in a completely other direction. But that said, there were still cool characters introduced, a bunch of cool new planets. I mean, even just some things that maybe weren't executed well in the movies still were cool concepts, like the Knights of Ren and Captain Phasma, and I like how the First Order is, again, it's more the aesthetics that I get annoyed by feeling too similar, but I like that the First Order feels a little different from the Empire and the Resistance, not necessarily being exactly the same as the Rebellion, because they're more of like a, because the Republic was in power when the Resistance started, so there's some stuff there that makes it kind of interesting and new. It's more just the overall universe outside of the main characters where I'm kind of like, we don't know anything about how this Republic works unless you read like certain books and stuff like that. So, I still lean towards the older eras. I don't think they've done a great job of expanding it timeline wise. But I mean, I think they're set up to continue doing some really cool stuff with the franchise, both in film and otherwise. So I'm not I'm not at all pessimistic about the future of Star Wars, even though I'm not completely satisfied with everything they've done, which we'll obviously get further into. So,
yeah, I mean, I think for me coming into it, like the Force Awakens as like my first like the first Star Wars that I like consciously went to. Like I know that I saw Revenge of the Sith in theaters, but like I have no idea how that happened.
Yeah,
like I remember like I have memories of sitting there and being like, "Whoa, Grievous!" But then I'm just like, I didn't see the one before this, so I don't know why. Like I don't know. But like, kind of jumping in now without really like we're gonna get into it a little bit later. We can get into it now. Shit. Like I've been rewatching I've just been watching Clone Wars because I've never seen it before. Holy shit, that show is as good as everyone says it is.
And it's funny because it has to build on you because like the animation is kind of like and the tone is definitely like kid oriented. But once
I was gonna say the tone is like dark as shit.
It is, but like the jokes and the humor, like I don't know how many. Like, have you been watching an abridged version, or are you just watching all of it?
So I'm watching a one of the Kind of Funny guys put out like a watch order. So like I've been kind of going through that. I don't remember exactly where I left off. I don't remember. Like I know. But
does it skip episodes?
Yeah, like the first episode he told me to watch, or the list had down was season 3, episode 1.
Right.
And as soon as I started, I was like, oh, this makes sense because it's like the training for the clones and like how they get all their nicknames and stuff like that. Because I'd seen it.
But is it like does it actually like not include episodes? Like skip them entirely?
I have no idea.
All right, yeah, because I mean. That's the main, like the thing is there's definitely these filler arcs or not even necessarily filler, but they don't feel necessary because they're like like there's droid focused episodes that follow like R2 and 3PO, which are much more kid friendly and typically have like, you know, more humor in them, and the Jar Jar focused episodes as well are similar in that way. There's a lot of like Jar Jar and Padme go on like a diplomatic mission somewhere, and then Jar Jar gets into some stuff.
From the Jar Jar that I've been exposed to, he's been not as annoying as I was like.
He's definitely toned down in Clone Wars, which is nice. I like that they actually try to use him rather than just shoving him under the rug. But yeah, I mean, but to go back to your original point, I mean, it's definitely a surprisingly good show, both in terms of tone and in terms of story. Like the episode we watched when you were here a few weeks ago was like all about like poisoning the food of like and at like a school and like there was so much
it was snake people
involved.
Trying to poison children. That was like it
wasn't just evils for evil's sake either. It was like politically motivated and stuff. Yeah.
Like, and that's another, like, it's, I don't know, like, to me, it's like, it's a kid's show, but, like, it is so, like, I'm enjoying it as, like, I like the politics of it, and, like, now that I'm kind of understanding, because also, it wasn't until, like, I was, like, a few weeks ago, like, at your place, someone brought up the fact that, like, Palpatine, like, orchestrated the whole Clone Wars and, like, built the clone army and the droid army and had them fight each other. Didn't know any of that. So, like...
Yeah.
Like...
That's big.
Yeah.
That's a big part to the story.
Yeah.
That's what made Palpatine such a, like, I mean, the best thing I think the prequels did was show you just, like, the Emperor was just, like, scary, like, warlock kind of dude in the original trilogy. And then they, like, you know, he was essentially just, like, the evil, like, end boss. But not even, like, the end boss because Vader is still, like, the one Luke fights, but... The prequels really show how he's like cunning and capable in a way beyond just like I'm old and I have lightning and I'm sitting in a chair.
Like he's dangerous on a galactic scale. Like,
exactly. It's sort of like how, I mean, we brought up Thanos before. Like before Infinity War, he had pretty much just been sitting in a chair threatening people, and then in Infinity War, right off the bat, you see him both like intimidating physically, but also just like intimidating presence, being able to kind of like talk like he was just as impressive and intimidating talking as he is punching and killing people, you know. I think
that
makes Palpatine. We can get more into Rise of Skywalker, but
let's just jump in. Are we gonna? Okay. Can we do full spoilers?
Yeah, full spoilers for Rise of Skywalker. Full spoilers for pretty much everything we're going to talk about here, with some exceptions. But we're not just general spoiler warning for pretty much any Star Wars story right now. We're going to talk about Mandalorian. We're going to talk about Fallen Order, a bunch of other stuff. So if you're not generally caught up on Star Wars right now, then
if you're not maybe generally tune back Grievous.
In later. Funny. That was good. But yeah, I think Palpatine was such a good villain in the prequels. He was very mustache twirly in the original trilogy, but he just, he was newly introduced, and you had kind of Vader there to supplement him, and that's, your emotional tie to the villain is Vader, not to the Emperor in those movies. And then the prequels, I think, just fully expand upon him, make him this like super impressive villain in multiple ways, like I was saying. And then Rise of Skywalker, like, I'm not conceptually against him coming back. I obviously am down with just more screen time and like him getting to play that character because he is so good at it. And I even like visually a lot of the stuff that they did, like and some of the story beats as well. Like I like that that Snoke was like these like failed clones. I like that he kind of had a hand in a lot of this stuff. And I don't even mind Rey Palpatine. Other than the fact that I wish she was more of a clone and not like, Palpatine fucked.
That would be that'd be dope.
But it's just that he is, I think, at his most mustache twirly in that movie. Like just from the jump when Kylo
in Rise of Skywalker?
Him, yeah. Like I think from the jump when Kylo meets him at the beginning on what we later find out through like art books is Mustafar. That well, I guess no, he's on Mustafar at the beginning. That's the like snowy ashy planet. But I guess he meets Palpatine on Exegol.
Mustafar is
where
Vader's,
the lava planet
resting place. Yeah,
where Obi-Wan and Anakin fought.
Doesn't Vader stay there?
Yeah, Vader stays there, and that's like where his castle is in Rogue One and stuff like that. But yeah, going back to Rise of Skywalker, I just felt that his presence and his role in the story was literally just to like, yell a lot of the same stuff we've heard him yell before, strike me down, I will be the most powerful, you underestimate the power of the dark side. He created this, massive fleet out of nowhere. He has like, again, visually it's pretty cool, but like he has the crazy lightning that is just like it's already like he already hams it up so much in the other movies when he's shooting the lightning, but just to see him just like blasted into the sky like that was like, I don't know. I wanted to enjoy what I was looking at so much more. And then ultimately the fact that like they didn't really do anything too clever with it to conclude. It's just that he died in Return of the Jedi, but actually he didn't, so he can just die now. Like it's not like he had to be like going back to another Marvel reference, like Doctor Strange. The fact that Doctor Strange couldn't defeat Dormammu, he had to like trick him into leaving. Like that's more interesting to me than just him, beating him because he's better at magic or whatever. Like, and Palpatine, got beaten the old traditional way in Return of the Jedi, and then he comes back, and it's just
the old
a more
traditional way of getting thrown down in endless pit and then exploding.
Getting physically killed, of getting physically defeated.
No, I know what you meant. It was just right. I've seen a lot of the image because like since like the internet has been very upset at like how the fuck do you return from this, and I'm just like I don't.
Honestly, that part doesn't bother me because that happens in this shit all the time. I wish. It's not that I like the thing that bothers me is the same issue I had with the First Order suddenly just being there and having the power to destroy the entire Republic like government in the beginning of Force Awakens is just that it diminishes the victory of Return of the Jedi. And people say that about like Luke's character arc. That I don't mind because that's like personal failings. That's like, but like they did nothing wrong in Return of the Jedi. They defeated the Empire. It just managed to come back like later, like it just happened to not actually be defeated. It was like no, you guys did all the right things.
Going to take different forms.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of harder to appreciate the end of Return of the Jedi now, and the Palpatine thing is such a big part of that. And again, yeah, I wanted them to, if they were gonna do stuff with him, I would have preferred a callback more to the Palpatine we saw in the prequels, not obviously going so far as like having the two identities and everything, because everyone at this point knows who he is, but you know, they kind of established that he's been playing everything throughout the sequel trilogy, but we don't get to see any of it. He just says it, and then he's right back to Return of the Jedi, sitting in a
Comic
chair,
books.
Yelling at people, thunderbolts and everything. Yeah, like it.
Okay, so as I walked out of the theater, I tweeted the best Star Wars, and like I'm gonna you know, like roll that back a little bit. Like like in hindsight, like if you really take a second to think about the movie, it's not good. But like when I saw it, and this is not, I can't recommend this for everyone, but like I saw it with a friend, and we got Bloody Marys before that, and then when we walked into the theater, we realized that they sold White Claws in there. So I watched this movie fairly buzzed, and I was just like we were just like the entire time, like just
really?
amazed. Just don't think about it at all, because you can't, because booze. And you're just watching everything go down, and like as pure spectacle, it was like one of the greatest movie going experiences I've ever had.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I know, like in hindsight, like when I think about things that like the Chewie exploding bit, like in that moment, I was not upset that like they did the whole fake out and cheap emotions or whatever. I was still focused on the fact that we just saw Rey use lightning. And now I'm like terrified for the rest of the movie, because like, what if she sneezes and then she blows a hole off the side of the ship and then they all die? Like, obviously not, but like,
right. I get what you're saying though.
Like they threw logic out the window so hard that it became like unsettling to like you. Like I was so engaged the entire time. Like I was more engaged moment to moment in this movie than I was in any of the other of the sequel trilogy, for better or worse. Like. Like I can't identify one, like other than the Chewie thing, which like personally does not upset me. Like I can't really think of anything that was like just stood out as like I don't enjoy this right now. Like there were a few bits in The Last Jedi which like I enjoyed, and then you could like the whole argument of like The Force Awakens is just A New Hope. Like that doesn't affect me, because I watched A New Hope afterwards. So like, I don't know, with Rise of Skywalker, like, and I'm going to offend you and others when I say this, but I mean it in the best way possible as someone that loves, like, video games and like, okay, I'm going to equate it to Destiny. Destiny's lore is so expansive and all over the place and has so much just random shit in it that largely it lacks genuine substance and it's dumb. But within this just giant sandbox, you can pick little, like, hey, okay, so let's take time travel, zombies, and fucking a hive mind. And now you have, like, this entire cool race of people and a new breed of enemies and stuff like that, like, you become attached to over time because you're spending so much time with it. Like, and I feel like, as someone that hasn't spent that much time with Star Wars yet, I think Star Wars is still largely, like, dumb. But like in a fun way, like if you, that's why I'm like so confused by a lot of the discourse around it, because people are like pulling crazy things from one movie or from one show or from like the canon books and comics or whatever, and then someone else will pull an equally valid like, well, no, this, but both of them are talking to each other as though the other person is like just completely wrong.
Yeah,
and I'm just like I don't know. Like, The Mandalorian looks goofy sometimes. Like, just the actual... Like, as he gets knocked down and stuff, I'm just like, oh, yeah, he kind of looks like a nerd. But, like... but then spoilers, he gets a jetpack. I mean, don't tell him I said that. But, and then, like, in 1 second, I'm just like, this is kind of weird. Like... And then in another second, I'm just like, this is really, really cool. I just need to, like, stop.
Yeah.
Like, you need to think about it to a certain point so that you can get the substance and the... Because, like, I think... I don't know. Like
I think you're describing Star Wars perfectly, honestly.
Okay.
It doesn't like. I don't like personally when I'm talking about this stuff, the big kind of franchisey sci-fi fantasy stuff. Like, I don't like to use the word stupid because, like,
I said dumb.
Dumb.
Different.
I think you said stupid. Whatever.
I'm pretty sure. Okay.
Whatever. The point is, like, but I get the point you're making because you're not necessarily saying it in a bad way. I don't like using that language because I don't like contributing to the discourse that, like, devalues this stuff.
I mean,
and I'm not saying that's what you're doing, intentionally or unintentionally, but, you know, if you were talking, if you had just tweeted out, like, Star Wars is dumb, but I love it, I would know what you mean, but there's plenty of people who could be like, yeah, exactly, it's, like, really just for kids and, like, you know, like, whatever,
no, that's not,
it's not worth, like, engaging in. Like, see, I think it's worth analysis, it's worth engaging in, so I don't like to think of it that way, but I don't want to, not to tread on that for too long, because I know that's not what you meant, but I agree with the sentiment in that Star Wars is, I mean, it's for kids, but it's also meant to be a fantasy. It is not necessarily, like, it's not devoid of politics, of course it's not, but it's not really trying to convince you of anything or make strong political points overall. I mean, there's definitely the Vietnam allegories in the original trilogy, specifically the first one. There's definitely a lot of, like, allegories to the Bush administration in the prequels and, like, the politics of that were happening at the late 90s or during the 90s and the early 2000s with the Gulf War and everything. It's all there, without a doubt. But I think
also Jar Jar Binks.
Well, but rather the main the driving force behind everything is always just like originally just a good versus evil, and then it kind of gets a little more nuanced to be about balance, and then that theme kind of just carries through everything, you know, like the original trilogy is about darkness rising, or the original the prequels are about darkness rising, and then light rises, and then the sequel trilogy is about balance. Like it's you know, it's pretty much just like darkness won, lightness won, and now we balance it out, which is, you know, I mean, like, ultimately the good guys win in Rise of Skywalker, but, you know, the redemption of Kylo Ren and the, you know, the death of Palpatine, and Rey establishing herself as not necessarily a Jedi, but as, like, a newer, like, evolved
just
form
like a good person
of it. Yeah, like, exactly. Like, it's not dependent on dogmatic light side teachings, like, this is good one way. It's like, no, I'm gonna do shit my own way with the spirit of all the Jedi, but, you know, not necessarily like the Sith are still bad and the Jedi are still good, but it's not necessarily about, like, you know, it's not Return of the Jedi, it's the Rise of Skywalker. Like, there's it's a different framing.
I also, this is super not within the, like, because we're talking, like, substance and themes and stuff like that, and this is a tangent, but, like, I really enjoy, the more I'm, like, getting into it, I like the distinction between, like, either the Empire, the Republic, and then, like, the Sith, and, like, same with, like, the Senate and the Jedi or whatever, like, like, there is the political side of it, like, the political good guys and bad guys, and then there are the spiritual good guys and bad guys, and I feel like regardless of, like, for, I don't know, like, I'm sure it'll kind of get more into it within the Clone Wars, but, like, I'm interested to see how, if the bad guys have good policies at some point, if, like, if, I don't know, like, let's say, I don't know, Dooku's just, like, Medicare for all. Like,
now I'm just, like, picturing Bernie Sanders playing Count Dooku.
Who would Bernie Sanders? Never mind.
Bernie Sandor.
Sandor Clegane.
Sanders Clegane.
Sanders Clegane. We need that spin-off.
Yeah, really.
Like, it's like, what's your, like,
socialist hound?
What's your, like, favorite Star Wars concept that, like, because I'm still
concept?
Like, every once in a while I'll look into, like, Star Wars explained lore videos and stuff like that, and as I've been playing Fallen Order, like, bits and pieces, I've fallen off pretty considerably, but, like, like, they've introduced some concepts where I'm just like, that's dope, and I should look into that more, into the Star Wars
Well, what I always like, what I like about Star Wars, and what I think is the secret to Star Wars success, and I've been thinking a lot more about this lately, and I've been applying it to kind of everything I've been thinking about with Star Wars, is this idea that what makes Star Wars work is that it's, and this is no secret, it wears its influences on its sleeves. You know, like the original Star Wars is clearly inspired by the war movies of its time, the samurai movies and westerns that Lucas grew up with, along with the serialized storytelling as well. And what makes things like Fallen Order work is that they take so lovingly from Dark Souls, Uncharted, all these other things. Mandalorian, same situation. It works because it is a Western and a samurai thing. And what I think worked the least about the sequel trilogy is, rather than taking from those influences and finding other ones, it instead just takes directly from Star Wars. Not entirely, but overall, you know, it's rather than referencing the same things that the original trilogy and the prequels referenced, all it does is reference the original trilogy and to some extent the prequels. It doesn't.
Like, how do you think it would, if they were to reflect like modernity? Like, how do you think they would have changed?
Well, I think, I mean, we can talk more about this, but there's rumors that Taika Waititi could direct a Star Wars movie. They've at least approached him, it seems. That's the current report. And I just wrote an article the other day for CBR talking about why he's such a great choice for it. And go check that out. Give me some page views. But the main point I say in that is essentially that, again, that point that Star Wars is this balance of all these different influences, and Taika Waititi is a filmmaker who can handle that balance, and while also bringing his own touch to it. You know, so much of his projects handle different tones and genres all pretty well and pretty evenly, and we see that even in his season finale to The Mandalorian, which has that comedic scene at the beginning, but also has some of the best action in the series, and then, you know, these fantastic elements with Baby Yoda and all this other stuff. And what I think a modern Star Wars movie should do is, frankly, my favorite Star Wars movie is Rogue One, and what I think that movie does well, and it's definitely my favorite of the Disney era. It's not in the sequel trilogy, but and what I think that movie does so well is it's the only Star Wars movie that's an actual war movie, in my opinion, except for maybe A New Hope, but even then, you're not following someone who's in the war. You're following or has been affected by the war. Direct. I mean, other than the fact
he was about to join the Empire, right?
Yeah, I mean, but it definitely comments on the war in the sense that like he was totally willing to join the Imperial military just to get off of his planet, which is something that's like real life. You know, people will join the military just to get out of the situation they're in and not really think about what that might, what that implies and what that effect is, and it's like an understandable thing, while also it's a complicated issue. But Rogue One is the only one that actually deals with the fallout of the war on a personal level, because you have characters like Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor who their lives have been completely torn apart by the war. It's not like, again, Luke Skywalker, who, other than, of course, his dad being Anakin, in the context of that movie, he's just a farm boy who's, light years away from the actual effects of the war. But again, the reason I think Rogue One is a good example of what modern Star Wars can be is that it takes on new tones. It goes back to it takes on a tone that we have seen in Star Wars, but it kind of commits to it more, like the much more serious war tone and all that, while it still is faithful to the spirituality and the Force and that aspect of Star Wars. It's still completely there, even though there's no Jedi. And mainly...
No lightsaber until the very, very end, right?
Exactly, and it's Vader. It's not like a Jedi swoops in and saves them or anything. But it goes back to not just the original influences that was those older war movies that influenced Lucas, but it also takes from, like people have pointed out, they like, especially when it was being marketed, it was like, oh, this is going to be like the Saving Private Ryan of Star Wars. This is going to be the
boots on the ground.
Exactly.
Like they had the shot of the walkers. I keep getting the AT-ATs and AT-STs mixed up. But
Well, the AT-ATs are the big ones, the really big ones.
Okay, then I think it was the AT-ATs.
Yeah.
With, like, the just beautiful orange sunset in, like...
Oh, the Apocalypse Now shot, essentially.
Yeah. Like, oh my goodness. Like...
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it pulls from... Well, that's one of Lucas's contemporaries, so Lucas couldn't have necessarily been directly inspired by him. I mean, obviously... He was inspired by movies of that time, but I don't know which came first, and he was probably already working on Star Wars. But it's that same... Rogue One goes back to the original influences, and then also pulls from more modern ones, and it creates this... What makes Star Wars great is this big hodgepodge of everything that is, like, of all these different things that... anyone can find something in it that they enjoy. Maybe you don't like the Jedi and the Sith and the Force, but you're a fan of the bounty hunting, and maybe you don't like, the action part of it, but you've got these fun, quirky characters at the same time. And Rogue One even has that with K2SO is like the snarky, sarcastic droid.
Who's
and
awesome.
And Chirrut and Baze have like a fun dynamic. They're almost like the human C-3PO and R2. Baze is kind of like the quiet, more resourceful one, and Chirrut's sort of like the talkative, not necessarily sarcastic or snarky, but he's got a bit more of a sense of humor to him, and self-awareness rather. And they kind of play those roles while also still being badasses in their own right. So I think for what I want to see the Star Wars films at least do, because I think the games and the TV shows, which we'll talk about, are already doing really well, is I just want the movies to continue to push forward by looking back and not looking back on Star Wars. That's the main thing, is don't just look back at Star Wars and try to do more Star Wars, it's as simple as how the Marvel movies have continued to do well by pulling from the comics while still acknowledging their own history. You don't want to necessarily retread things, but you also want to provide that feel that was there at the beginning and has been there the whole way through. Force Awakens is the most slave to the Star Wars mythos and previous movies, and yet it has the fun. It feels like Star Wars in that way, but it doesn't feel like new Star Wars. It feels like completely just more of the same. I don't necessarily agree with the concept that it's a complete remake of A New Hope, because there's enough plot points that are different, but it's clear that they were playing it safe, and I think that was part of the intention. What I want to see them do is go off, 1,000 years in the future, 1,000 years in the past, or just explore areas we haven't seen before. And what will make it feel like Star Wars is that it will be pulling from those same influences. Like we can get a Sith Jedi war from 1,000 years ago, similar to Knights of the Old Republic, and have it feel like like a samurai war movie rather than Rogue One, which feels like this boots on the ground, like Saving Private Ryan, more modern war story. And if we can get both, then Star Wars will be satisfying the wider group of people rather than trying to either appeal directly to the fans or to do something so different that it doesn't feel, quote unquote, feel like Star Wars. And that's the main issue, is that everyone wants it to feel like Star Wars, but no one has the same definition of that. I think, what is it called? I think it was BDG, but it was a Polygon video a while ago that kind of was discussing what makes a good Star Wars anything, and what makes something feel like Star Wars, and in the context of Fallen Order. I feel like sound is definitely a really big deal. They brought up the fact that just random bottomless pits everywhere. Because Star Wars, and I'm just that makes sense. So now I'm kind of looking out for not anytime there's a bottomless pit, I'm just okay, they did it, and weird trash compactors and scary, there should be some animals everywhere for no reason, everywhere for no reason. I don't know. I think it's the everything goes mentality, and I think that's part of the problem with the current and it's not necessarily no rules. You want some consistency, but it's it's the big issue I have is people talking about how logically none of the new Star Wars movies make sense and all this stuff. And like, and there's definitely a feeling of discontinuity, but I don't think the solution is strict continuity. Like, again, Star Wars is a bit of everything, so therefore anything should be able to go. You know, you have to put in some effort to get it to feel right, you know? I mean, you want to... The continuity is fun, the lore is fun, and you want to, like, have things tie into each other because of that. But you also want to give storytellers the freedom, and it's, like you're saying, like, the planet designs, the ship designs all have these random bottomless pits and, you know, different things that serve the purpose when they need to be there. They don't really necessarily make sense, but they're there because the story needs them to be there. And that's really the entire, like, that's really how the Force works in Star Wars, is that it gets the character from point A to point B. You know, sometimes it's literally like Luke Skywalker needs his lightsaber right now, but it's 5 feet away from him. The Force gets it to him, you know? It's not that he has telekinesis. It's that the Force is like being like, you need this right now, and I'm giving it to you, you know? Like,
that's a good way to look at it, yeah.
And it's the same thing with Rise of Skywalker, and this stuff is also present in Empire and a couple of the other ones. The whole idea that you can kind of like sense the feelings of your friends and loved ones and other Force sensitive people from across the galaxy, like Finn feeling when Rey dies, you know, like that's the story needing him and the character development needing him to know it happens. And it wouldn't work in, you know, any other movie to just have someone randomly go like, oh, I could feel that. But in Star Wars, it works because, you know, like the Force is there to kind of just put things in the place they need to be. So I want to see more of that, you know, just give us a different setting, give us a different tone, and especially when it comes to things like the video games, like just apply that Star Wars skin to things we already love, you know. I think that's the way to go. So that's my long-winded overall thoughts.
No, I've been
on the franchise.
I agree with all of that. I'm just trying to think if there was anything that I could add that wouldn't just reiterate what you said, but honestly not really. Like I'd be cool with just, I don't know, never mind, because I was gonna say, like, if they tried to go really, really, really weird with it, and like almost like not make it boring, but like I'm just a farm, like just a Star Wars farm with weird, like we got that in the first half of like a Mandalorian episode, but like just a character focused, like like a murder mystery in the Star Wars universe would be fucking awesome.
Ryan Johnson to come back and do Knives Out in space.
yeah.
Honestly, I think that's a great idea. I think one of my biggest disappointments with the Disney Star Wars movies is the fact that they seem to be dropping the whole Star Wars story moniker, the anthology films, and, you know, however anyone feels about Rogue One and Solo, like, I think the concept was really smart. Do one-off Star Wars movies that can expand the characters in the world, you know? I mean, I think that's a concept that can definitely continue to work if they just, you know, do a better job releasing the movies at the right time and, you know, giving space to breathe in between them. But conceptually, I think that's the way to go. And I think The Mandalorian proves that even though it's going to be an ongoing series, we start with characters we don't know in an environment we don't really know. Because at least if you're going on-screen stuff, like, we've seen Boba Fett and Jango Fett and whatnot, but we haven't actually seen the world of the bounty hunters. We didn't know how the guild worked on screen until we saw it in The Mandalorian. And that's the way to go, because now in Season 2, if they want to bring in Boba Fett or anyone else from the movies, we've got a platform that feels unique to and feels new and feels fresh. So more of that is what I want to see, definitely. And then Fallen Order, again, it's like, it's not just here's a Jedi we already knew in an environment we already know. It's, you know, here is a type of character we haven't seen before. You know, this like 5 years later, like even Rebels, which has a similar thing where there are like one of the main characters is Kanan, who's a Jedi who was a Padawan when the Order 66 happened, and he's been hiding, and it's very similar to Cal's setup. The difference is he's been in hiding for 15 years, and now he's like a part of the rebellion. and that's very different from Cal, who's literally just hiding on a junk planet.
Yeah, but like chilling on the junk planet.
Yeah,
like
that was has no desire to change his position at all. Yeah,
like honestly, and I like the way that they kind of rolled out the information, because I don't know if they had shown a bunch of this in the. Like, I had largely stayed away from the promotional material for this as much as I could, because, like, the ads on YouTube were fucking ridiculous, like, the week it was coming out. Yeah. Just this specific shot of one of the bosses, like, jumping down and then throwing at her lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna get the game, just stop showing. Yeah, like, just let me see it.
That definitely won't end. Going forward, we will still continue to be inundated with Star Wars, whether we like it or not.
Hey, this is a good game. This is a good one.
Like, I'm there already. You don't need to sell me, but obviously,
but no. So jumping back to like Cal, like the idea that as soon as and again, like I have not gotten like I don't think I've played the game since I've been at your house. Like it's like that level of like I just fell off. But the intro, and like I know I'm gonna beat it eventually. Yeah. Like, soon, hopefully. I was marathoning The Witcher, trying to beat it before Cyberpunk came out, but now I have more goddamn time.
You have till September, so you're fine.
Fuck. Dude, this is supposed to be the Star Wars episode, but, like, I just need to say the fact that Cyberpunk went from coming out 2 or 3 days after my birthday. No, 2 days if we're doing it, like, Thursday night. Like my birthday weekend was going to be Cyberpunk. And now, no, I don't know what to, and like I thought, oh well, I'll have Final Fantasy VII before that, like I can, but no, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm like actually very like I'm so fucking bummed out by it, and the whole argument of like, oh well, at least the devs are going to be able to get more time to like not crunch basically. Apparently CDPR is going to crunch, so.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the good thing is that the game will be more polished and finished. The bad thing is that there's going to be more crunch, but there was already crunch before, so it's pretty much just more of the same bad. But the game will be better.
It's just stretching it out.
It's clearly a bad system, though.
Like, yeah, and I hate that. When super far fucking tangent, but just like, it's like with games like Fallen Order, like. I'm willing to bet just a lot of money that I don't have that at EA there was crunch.
Yeah.
And they put it out when they put it out to coincide with the movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
So and the game is a buggy mess. Like it's really fun, but it's also like every time I boot it up there's at least one thing that I'm noticing.
Really? That's like I keep seeing that in like every review I've seen talks about like it's good, but it's so buggy, it's a problem. It's like that's not that I never had any bugs in it, like I did, but I have just not had that experience at all that everyone else is talking about. Like I'm also maybe I just got lucky or something, but like I really like there were a few issues like that, but nothing that really like broke any situations for me.
So I'm playing on the Pro. And they have the like performance mode and the like the just make it look prettier mode. I'm playing on the make it look prettier mode, so that might be why. But I've heard that if you switch it over, that still doesn't help. Like the game is fucking gorgeous, but it's also like I'll be just like the shine on his fucking hair is incredible, but also why is his poncho freaking out off to the side? And like I've missed, like I'm not. As much as I don't want to be the, like, well, the game made me die this time. Like, there were several times where I'll go for a jump, and then I just, like, I see... Like, I'm not wrong. I didn't miss the fucking jump, but I just fall. And then I have to either climb my way back up and just... Yeah, it's been nothing to completely ruin the experience, but it has been, like, so consistent that I'm just, like... If I do have a life where... there haven't been any bugs, I'm just like, oh shit, okay. Like I notice when there are no bugs. Like it's like that.
I guess I just got really lucky then. Like I can't deny anyone else's experience with it. Like clearly that is an issue a lot of people are having. I just fully haven't had it at all.
I mean, again, it's nothing to.
Yeah.
It's just weird that like because I do think the game is good, but I'm also like nothing that it does well, it does perfectly. Like, the game is pretty, but it's buggy. The game is fun, but it's like not at all original. And if you compare it to, so the reason I kind of dropped off, other than switching to The Witcher, is it like made me want to play Bloodborne again, or play through Bloodborne, because I've been trying to play that game for I don't know how long, and I just will get frustrated and stuck, whatever. But like just the immediate difference of the responsiveness in the combat and the like the weight of the attacks, and like and I know that we're like using a lightsaber and it's supposed to feel light, and we're supposed to be like agile and stuff like that with it. But then comparing it to like Sekiro from earlier last year, like the thing with Sekiro is like you have to stay in the clinch or whatever. And I feel like with Fallen Order, it's encouraging. Like once I realized like, oh wait, I need to be using my force powers like at all times, the game became like so much like the. I'm not gonna say the challenge wasn't there, but like it was night and day of just like, okay, I'm just gonna run up these stairs, force push all of you, and maybe it has to do with like the grinding that I like did a little bit. Like I didn't farm, but like after the toad guy on yeah, like after I killed him the first time, I was just like, okay, let's just keep doing this for a bit until I feel comfortable.
What'd you do?
Nothing. Something from the outside. The intruder.
You just walk out and Cal Kestis is holding a boombox over his head. Just come back to me, Bo. Finish me.
Like that. The reason I want to beat the game is the story. I like Cal. I like Grease. I like Seer. I like her character dynamics and her idea. The fact that I can't fully trust her right now, and like, please don't say anything because you beat the game. But like,
I won't. Yeah, all I'll say is that the story, in my opinion, concludes in an incredibly satisfying way, and they introduce more characters as you go to some of the other planets that are like I think in general all the characters they introduce are really solid.
Saul Guerrero was dope.
Yeah, the Saw Gerrera cameo is great. Well, it's a little more than a cameo. His like role on the Kashyyyk stuff is pretty cool. Like there's a lot that I think ultimately the driving force for me to finish it was to see the story through. And also, like you were saying, when you start using her force powers more, the combat not only gets easier but faster, and therefore like less
stressful,
less cumbersome and annoying. You know, like it's not like when towards the beginning of the game, if you walk into a room where there's like 5 or 6 people, you're like, okay, I might not die, but this is gonna like take me a second, and not necessarily the most satisfying way. But as you continue to unlock not just more force powers, but also like saber techniques and stuff, once your options expand, it becomes a situation where you come into a room full of 6 people, and it's the excitement of like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
You know, like I have all these options of how to do this. Like I can throw my lightsaber at this guy, pull this dude near me, stab him. I can do this. I can push these 2 guys off because they're near the ledge. Like, you know, your positioning becomes more like important because it's it's your positioning becomes important both offensively and defensively. Whereas like at the beginning of the game, it's like I have to stay away, I have to keep my distance, I have to keep my guard up. So positioning works there, but it's not as satisfying because it's just this like waiting game. But then later on, it's a matter of like, okay, like I can dodge this attack and then get into a position to push these 3 stormtroopers off the ledge, and that's like a really satisfying experience.
I think it also does it like. In that regard, it has a really good pacing of like you turn a corner, and after a while, like once you're dying and then having to replay the same section over and over and over again, you kind of fall into the rhythm of just like, okay, I know dudes there, I know that there are 2 dudes there. There's gonna be someone shooting me here. So if I just like, and like once you kind of figure out the order in which to take everyone out, because like I've run into an area where there's like dude with a rocket launcher. But I know that he'll miss his first one, and it's going to take him way too long to reload. So I can kill all these guys before I go up to him. Yeah. And then like there is like more strategy to it than just like hacking the saber. But honestly, I was most excited for the saber hacking. Like like it's so very clearly not ripping off. Like what's the being influenced by or inspired by? There we go. Like by the Soulsborne type games or whatever. So my expectations for the combat went way too high, I guess. And like it felt good the first few fights, but then after a while I'm just like, I don't feel the oomph to it that I wanted. Like everything sounds awesome still. And the
I think the
like,
sound
I just need to like
effects, as you were
shift
saying
my
before,
expectations.
is a very huge part of it. I mean, I can't comment much on that because I haven't played any of the Soulsborne games.
And I'm,
so
I'm a very much a novice.
point of,
Don't consider me a pro. Internet.
I'm saying. I don't really have the point of comparison there. To me, I think it does a good job of balancing the weight, like the tension of you need to actually be actively thinking about what you're doing in every fight, even the easiest fights. You know, you have to actually like think about timing stuff. You can't just completely run in and mash the buttons. That said, when it gets to a certain point, you can completely destroy people and feel powerful. And I think it does a good job of balancing both the actual need for your attention and input with feeling like you are incredibly so much more powerful than everyone you're fighting, and it builds to it, and it's really that middle section where the combat becomes less of a focus and it's more on the exploring and the kind of dungeon crawling, where it just slows down to such a degree that I think that's like the weakest part of the game. It's for those of you who have played it or are in the process of playing it, it's really the Kashyyyk stuff, and then the return to Zepho when you go there later in the game. And I also know you can do things in a different order. Like I saved Dathomir for pretty much last, and yet that can be your second planet you go to.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about our playthroughs, like we went to different planets first, and we were just like, wait, what? Like you got the double-bladed lightsaber like super early.
Pretty early,
like, what the fuck? How did it like?
And then that's the thing. I definitely want to replay the game, but it needs a new game plus. Not that I don't think I would enjoy going through the process of building the character up again, but I know I would definitely enjoy being able to just kind of tear through the beginning of the game. You know, I mean, I especially because it's not even just a matter of like I would have all the unlocks, but I also like know how to control that version of the character so well, and I feel like I don't want to go completely back to square one. You know. So, also it does the one thing that I don't like a lot of current games that have skill trees doing, where they lock very basic abilities and commands to like, you know, well, maybe an easy point in the skill tree to get to, but still it's like locked behind. Like I don't like when games will like lock a dodge roll like to a point in the skill tree, or like, you know, like just off the top of my head, like the Dying Light, which we were playing together last year for a bit, like I'm pretty sure like the sliding kick is something you have to unlock, and there's like so many of those little things that like when you start getting a lot it feels good, but you just feel so restricted at the beginning, and it almost doesn't really make sense. Like it doesn't like seem to fit to me. Like why wouldn't I already know how to just do a little kick when I'm sliding, which is something I can already do. Like, you know, they with the force powers and Fallen Order, they can explain that a little better, but you know, certain things like why I can't do a little dodging kick at the beginning of the game just doesn't, like, when you unlock it, it's just like, okay, cool, this feels like something I should have been able to do from the get, you know.
Yeah, it feels like they ran out of skills and were just like, okay, we got to roll it back a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's take away some more of his abilities. Like at least they don't do the thing where you have everything at the beginning and then after the first level you strip you away from it, which can be annoying.
I low key enjoy the. Not necessarily an execution, but I like the idea behind that of we are going to show you, like, that's, I can't remember the power ceiling. Just like in anime, we're going to show you, like in My Hero, we're going to show you All Might at his strongest and then take him away from you. And like,
and now you know this, your main character is eventually going to get there. So it's that excitement of, I mean, I'm cool with that in concept. And I think like when it's usually like Metroid Prime, the first one is like my first example of that playing, where you have everything at the beginning and then you get stripped away from you. The difference is it really feels like every time you get an upgrade, it's an upgrade. Whereas in Fallen Order, it's like the story-based upgrades, which are mostly your force powers, feel like that. It's not like you start complete and then you're building from that. It's like you start incomplete and you're trying to you know, fill the glass. Okay, so we're kind of talking about like minor changes to Star Wars.
Sorry. Yeah.
Real quick, can we pause? I have to pee so badly.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, we're back. I'm sorry, you were saying something.
I just wanted to start opening up the discussion of like the future of Star Wars games, because there was talk of EA losing the Star Wars license after Battlefront 2 kind of shat the bed, and then like continued to shit the bed for a little while, and then kind of turned it around.
But no one really noticed.
Yeah, like I mean, like IGN did a re-review for it, and I think other sites are probably going to start following suit. I think GameSpot has one, but it's really going to. I'm interested to see. Like, I kind of want EA to lose the Star Wars license because EA bad on like a very basic level, just EA bad. And also, I don't think we're going to get the weird. Like, Star Wars is so big, and Star Wars has so much in it that you can do whatever you want. Holy shit! Okay, so loosely defined update. I am kind of taking care of a cat right now. It looks like he's trying to approach my lap.
Aw.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear him meowing.
Yeah, just a little meow guy. Just cutting to the chase, I want a fucking pod racing F-Zero game. Like, I want a game that feels like F-Zero, but, you know, I like the aesthetic of pod racers. Are they just pods? I don't know.
Pods? Well, the actual vehicle, yeah.
Okay,
it's a pod racer.
So, like,
sometimes referred to as pods.
Like, make it like Mario Kart. I don't know, just some kind of... Because I do like casual-ish racing games, but I realize, like, the F-Zero going super fast, like your speed being a detriment almost in terms of your being able to handle the pod racer in this case. Like, that would be so cool.
Well, there was a episode 1 pod racer game made like in the late 90s when that movie came out that I think was on Nintendo 64. And it's one of those ones that's not like the most beloved. It's not Knights of the Old Republic, but I do think it has like a lot of fans out there who, I mean, they probably would call it something else, but if they did do a new Star Wars pod racing game, I could totally see that being a hit.
I also
especially
like the
now that the
arcade game.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, the pod racing arcade game was really cool because of the controllers where you have to like
thrust
one
the
way.
2 different levels. Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. And
honestly,
as a kid, I was just like, yo, cars should move like this.
Honestly, I know this isn't probably what you want to go for because you want to actually be able to play it, but a pod racing VR game would be pretty cool. I don't know if
that would be perfect.
I don't know if you've ever been on Star Tours either at Disneyland or Disney World, but it's like it's the Star Wars ride that they had for years before they had an entire Star Wars land, and essentially it's one of those like 3D like virtual like
space
augmented
magic.
Reality kind of rides where you're in like a single thing that's moving around, but it's not like a roller coaster. But my point is, the screen shows you going through different locations in the Star Wars universe. And when I've done it, I've gone through it's taken us through the pod racing track in episode 1. And of course,
like on a
VR game. No, I mean, because you're in the Star Tours ship. The idea is that you like fly down and to Tatooine,
like
and
then like a safari thing.
Yeah, and then you get like caught in the actual situation, the pod race. There we go.
Okay, because I was like,
but I think obviously like an at-home VR game wouldn't have like the moving around that this $1 billion ride at Disneyland does. But conceptually, the idea of like being able to really feel like you're in it, I think would be a great idea.
And I honestly
especially
think that,
with the like, if they did it on PSVR, the like move controllers could kind of be like your things, and I know other ones have a similar. Other VR systems have similar types of controllers. So
I'm thinking once. I mean, I know that Star Wars has done VR projects before. Like Vader Immortal is one of the better selling VR games, and I know that they were pushing that with the new Oculus.
And they added a lot of lore stuff to that too. So they clearly wanted it to feel important. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was just like a really good sword simulator.
Like I'm pretty sure what's his name? David S. Goyer writes it.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I mean, I think once Iron Man VR comes out, because I think that's going to do well.
Which also got delayed.
Fuck, yeah, which also got... But it only got delayed a month, right? Got delayed from April to May, I think.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I think it's right around where the original Avengers, which also got delayed release date was. So, yeah.
Like, I know that out of the delays, Iron Man was like the one that took the best hit, I guess. The not worst hit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
But I want to go back
think
to
VR would be great.
I want to go back to your point that EA should lose the Star Wars license, because the Marvel games are a great example. What they've been doing the last couple of years and in this upcoming year or this current year with the Marvel games is they've let a bunch of different studios and publishers make them. The fact that we have a AAA Spider-Man game that's published by Sony
It's
and
like one
also
of the greats.
and a
It's like one of the
Nintendo
great
published
exclusives.
continuation to an older series on the Switch, and then we're also getting this big multi-platform live service game with the Avengers game coming out, and then a VR game that's also by a different studio. Like that's what Star Wars should be doing. Is they should be outsourcing more like that, because honestly, EA having DICE do Battlefront makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The issue was the EA publisher side, not DICE the developer side. The issue was, how do we monetize the fuck out of this? It wasn't like if you actually look at it as like a Battlefield clone, it fits, it works. It's maybe not as deep as Battlefield, but it's the Star Wars version of it. It works. The issue,
large scale battles, and it makes sense in the execution.
It's a well designed first person shooter, mechanically, and
they got the look and the feel right.
Exactly, and they put the Star Wars flair on it. If you had, you could maybe even get Nintendo to do the pod racing thing, although they should focus on actual F-Zero, I think, before doing that. But, having Respawn was a little bit out there because they had not done a game like Fallen Order before. But, the idea is you go to these different developers. EA can do it to a degree because they own so many developers, but you want to be able to expand out even further. One of the ideas I wrote down was to have a... Republic Commandos was a game back in like the PS2, GameCube, 360. Actually, it might have been a original Xbox exclusive, because I think there were a lot of games that were just PC and Xbox for Star Wars at the time. I don't know if they had a deal with Microsoft or something. They probably did, but it was a team-based single-player shooter. There probably was some multiplayer to it, but it was a group of clone commandos in the Clone Wars, and it was a cool idea. I would love to see some sort of sequel or spiritual sequel to that, that maybe goes as far as being like Rainbow Six Siege, but in Star Wars, still with maybe more of a focus on single player, because I want most of these games to have campaigns to expand the story and the lore and everything. But you could get, I don't know what the actual developer is, but you could, if EA is not the only one doing it, you could get Ubisoft to put that team onto this game, and let the people who do it best do it. And I also wrote down giving Star Wars some sort of Overwatch clone, some sort of team-based competitive shooter where it's focused on the heroes. You could either play as a Jedi or Boba Fett or Captain Phasma, and you go 6v6 against each other, and fuck it, if they could get Blizzard to develop that, I would be cool with that. Like, why not?
Have you heard of Killing Edge?
No.
So it's basically just melee focused Overwatch. It's Devil May Cry and Overwatch. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's all melee characters. Yeah. It's made by Ninja Theory. It's coming out. I think it's spring this year. I have no idea, spring or summer this year. But I think if that succeeds, I think if that does well, then there'll be like a precedent set of just like, okay, so Overwatch is not the only hero-based like shooter on the market right now. I think it's first person. I'm pretty sure the Killing Edge is first person. But stuff like, because obviously we love Overwatch very much. So like, you give me just as many Overwatch clones, as long as they're good, I'll play them. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Like, I feel like every game so far has kind of failed in the. Like, I think Battleborn was a good game, but I don't remember. I remember the Mushroom guy and the Falcon guy because I played as both of them. But like, those were also like, no character design in there really blew me away. But like, it'd be so fucking easy to just throw a lightsaber on some random dude, and now this is going to be your favorite character in a video game because the way that he plays is similar to
I would even say just full on take the characters that already exist. Have like General Grievous be a tank. Have your obviously your various damage characters. Between you've got Boba Fett could essentially be Farah, but with like a flamethrower. You know, you've got all the different melee Jedi that you could throw in there. But Yoda could feel totally different from playing as Obi-Wan, you know.
Dude, once you said the Boba Fett Farah thing, I was just like, yeah, like his primary fire would definitely be his blaster, and then he would have the flamethrower to, like, if someone gets close to him, to back them off.
Yeah.
Damage over time.
There's so much potential there, and the good thing about the Force is that you can pretty much give each Jedi a different set of powers that not only fit their personality, but also, I mean, you can have, like, Rey, you know, could easily be a support character healing up her team, like she does the giant snake and her boyfriend.
Going back to Rise of Skywalker, that's the one thing I didn't like. There we go. Now that I think about it.
Were there like in my theater, there were audible groans when they kissed each other.
I probably groaned audibly. Like, I know that there was one woo, like someone was very clearly happy by it, but I just, like, I remember throwing my hands up, like, just this, like, just if I'm on the edge of my seat for the entire, like, hour and a half before this, as soon as they kiss, I'm just like, and then I just sit back and, like, and then, like, immediately after I'm back in it. No, it didn't feel earned at all. There was no sexual tension between them at any point. Rey had sexual tension with everyone. Finn had sexual tension. They created a new character for Finn to fuck every movie, and there was no Finn fucking under no circumstances. Finn, Poe, they all. Yeah. Not that I need my Star Wars characters to fuck.
Yeah.
Or, like, anything, but, like, they put it in your, like, they
played to the shippers.
Yeah.
While also trying to play against them. It was. I
was trying to think of any other way to say they forced it.
Yeah.
But.
Haha.
Yeah, no, that's why.
These kind of puns are inevitable.
Like, they. And now, okay, back to video games. You wrote down, and this upsets me so fucking much because I know it's true, and I know I would probably play it.
Yeah.
And love it. But if Star Wars ripped off Destiny 2, or just Destiny, you said that you would probably play it.
Yeah, probably.
And I said I hate you for this because, like.
Yeah, but it would be like a Star Wars game, so.
But that's, like, at this point, I'm just, if it's, like, Destiny is so good that I feel like if you try to rip it off, like apparently the Marvel game is supposed to be, or, like, the Avengers game is supposed to just be Avengers but Destiny, and I don't see how that's going to work, but, like.
It works better when you can make your own character in, like, just a set location or set of locations in the Star Wars universe. Like, and honestly, that's something where we were talking about the movies kind of going, like, 1,000 years before or whatever, but, like, I think the games should do that too. Like, obviously, if we got the Overwatch clone we're talking about, that would be some big crossover of characters we already know. It doesn't have to be, but that's how I'm picturing it. But, you know, if they wanted to do, like, a Destiny clone, just set it off, like, 1,000 years before where there's more Force users, so you can kind of have that. Or if they, you know, maybe 1,000 years or 100 years after the Rise of Skywalker, just
where we have more Broom Kid, join Smash.
Broom Kid, join Smash. You wrote down a Smash Bros. Or a Star Wars character in Smash, which I think is never going to happen, but anything's possible.
Yeah, we didn't think Joker was going to happen.
It could be interesting. I don't want more swords characters though, and I'm counting a lightsaber here.
We'll put Aiden. She uses blasters, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if they were to do it, it would be cool to do it as, like, a actual video game Star Wars character. The issue is that none of these games have been on Nintendo systems that we're looking at, Cal or Ivan. That doesn't seem to really matter.
Persona,
Right, but it's just, like, Persona at least, like, fits, you know? Like, if you're already taking a character that's, like, feels so far removed, like, you know, not being from a video game first franchise and stuff, it just seems a little, like, at least Persona, at least it's like Shin Megami Tensei on Nintendo systems, at the very least. I mean, it would be a cool idea, especially as you wrote here, just John Williams in Smash would be great.
I'm just saying, like, purely for the music, like.
That'd be funny if, like, because a lot of people want, like, different rhythm characters, like rhythm game characters to be in the game. Like, I've seen a couple different suggestions. He was already great in PlayStation All-Stars, but having an actual real-life composer be the music-based character in the game would be amazing. But if they did have John Williams in Smash, you'd have to have a moveset that takes inspiration from Harry Potter and Star Wars and Superman and all of them, Indiana Jones. Like,
well, this is... If we were to ever get a real person in Smash, other than like Reggie or Sakurai himself, I low-key feel like Kojima could be in Smash, because he put himself in Metal Gear Solid 4. Like, Hideo Kojima exists within the video game universe.
They could. That could be the second Metal Gear rep.
In 2019, not the year of our Lord anymore, but in 2019, Conan O'Brien is now in video games. Conan O'Brien could be in Smash.
Oh God, you're right.
Jeff Keighley could be in Smash. Jessica Chobot could be in Smash.
Jeez.
Shaq could be in Smash.
Dude, this next Fighters Pass is going to be weird, isn't it?
It better be weird, because if they just start going down the Fire Emblem roster, like, I'm excited for Byleth,
okay with them, but I'm also doing more Nintendo characters, but
I mean, like Nintendo, I don't care, but also give me fucking, like, the fact that Byleth so easily just could have been Dante. Like, you keep essentially the same moveset.
That's so true. I'm just like,
she so easily could have been Dante. And the whole, like, the reason people thought it was going to be Dante was because, we're going to bring Devil May Cry 3 to the Switch, and it's going to have style switching, which the original game didn't have. So this is going to be, like, the way to play this game.
Yeah.
If style switching is the main selling point, and then you have a character that is going to have style switching anyway, why not just make it fucking Dante? Like, and I feel like the hatred for Fire Emblem characters within, and just swordsmen in general within Smash, has been vocal since, like, fucking Brawl.
Yeah.
Why when you have, like, they've been on fire. Like, Terry was the first, like, what? But everyone else has been like, okay, cool, on board, cool. I mean, Hero was, I thought Hero was going to be cool.
Hero's a big deal for many, many people.
Yeah, like, not for me, but, like, Hero, Hero is a big deal, full stop. Like, Terry is Terry, but like Banjo, obviously fucking insane persona. Joker, the first time we saw it, like Joker to me set the tone, where I'm just like, anything is possible at this point.
And then Byleth, well, that's the problem, is that they had 4 characters that were so out there, or like just crazy. Like, I mean, Banjo is someone people have been wanting for a long time, but the fact that they actually got him is such a big deal. But then Byleth is just like, I don't know. It's like, it just reminds me of Smash 4, where we got like Corrin, and we also had to pay for characters like Roy and Lucas and Mewtwo, who were in the game, who should have just been in the base game because they weren't new to the series. You know, like
Roy.
And that didn't bother me so much in Smash 4, because at the time this was like our first example of Smash DLC. But then they start off so freaking strong with like someone as weird as Piranha Plant, and then like those crazy the crazy third party picks that make up the Fighters Pass, and then another Fire Emblem, like another Fire Emblem. Did you see Donkey's Fire Emblem Smash video?
Yes. Video game Donkey, what a guy. And I'm probably gonna play Byleth when they come out.
Oh, like, definitely. They look good.
They look really good. Fun. I'm excited about it. But after watching Sakurai count down all the Fire Emblem games on one hand, and then be like, oh yeah, this is like the binary way of counting. I'm just like, what am I doing? It's 6 a.m. This wasn't like it's mostly if I had woken up and seen Byleth and Smash, I'd be like, oh shit, because I love Byleth. But like and I was watching the Kinda Funny stream, so like hearing all of the opinions and like seeing the Twitch chat of just being like Dante, and then like equal force of like Doom Guy is gonna be it, and I'm just like, both of those I'm down. Like it wasn't just like,
well, that's the thing.
It was like the public disappointment.
Well, I mean, Smash Bros is such a interesting animal, because it's so the product of this one director's game director's like desires and vision, while at the same time it serves such a wide audience and such a wide appeal. And I'm gonna tie it back to our original topic. It's sort of like Star Wars in that way, or at least Star Wars pre the Disney buyout, is that especially when you look at the prequels, like this is a one man's vision of something that has so much wide appeal and has so many different parts that, you know, like you could have had George Lucas, you know, you could have had, I mean, it's kind of like what they initially tried to do with the Disney era movies is you had, you know, different directors coming in and giving their stamp on Star Wars. But that's never what it was originally. It was always just this, at least the original movies, it was George Lucas's Star Wars. You know, even when he didn't direct Empire and Return of the Jedi, it was 100% his story. And it's just this funny, auteur-driven piece of mass appeal media. And Smash is just another example of that. But yeah, so before we finish, is there anything we haven't touched on in regards to the future of Star Wars that we want to go into?
Not really. I mean, the Destiny clone is the most that stands out to me every time I see it. I'm just like, fuck, that would be, because that would work on so many different levels, and like you could have like Jedi, smuggler, droid as like the three races. Yeah. And like, yeah, no, at this point I just want, yeah.
It would work. It would be good.
It would work.
We didn't really talk a whole lot about TV other than you're watching Clone Wars, and I assume that means you're excited for the new season, whether or not you actually...
I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm excited. Like, I know that since I've enjoyed... or from what I've enjoyed so far, I have no reason to think that I'm not going to be super fucking hyped for season 7.
Yeah, and I want to put this out there somewhere on the internet so I can take credit if it happens. I am calling that the new Clone Wars season will tie directly into The Mandalorian, which seems obvious because there's going to be Mandalorian stuff in it, but specifically I think we're going to see a young Moff Gideon in the... at the Siege of Mandalore, along with potentially even a young Mando or at least his parents playing some sort of supporting role. So I just want to speak that into existence. So when it happens, I can take credit for it.
You're probably right.
And we could have probably spent more time talking about The Mandalorian, but I think the general consensus with us and with people in general is that it was pretty freaking good.
It was pretty fucking good, yeah.
It wasn't disappointing. Like, it wasn't game changing, but it was an excellent way to launch a streaming platform and to get a whole bunch of people on board.
And down with the cult that is Baby Yoda, like
exactly
the cult leader.
Our cult leader, Baby Yoda. So looking forward to season 2. I'm excited for their other shows. I want to get more information on Kenobi and the Cassian Andor show because I'm very excited for both of them.
Did you see that the Kenobi show like was rumored to be canceled, and immediately after someone was like, "That's not true."
It was fake. It was like a clickbait site that it exploded far beyond because everyone's so hungry for it.
Two swipes on Twitter.
No, that's going to be huge. When that comes out, that's like I'm more excited for that than maybe any other movie or TV show that I know of right now. Like,
tell me why I was going to ask if that was the one with Conor McGregor. It's Ewan McGregor, correct?
Ewan McGregor,
not Conor McGregor. Yeah, Ewan McGregor, the McGregor brothers.
Yes, but I am so excited for the Kenobi series. He's like my favorite Star Wars character in the movie. So
he's your favorite Star Wars
about him. He is my favorite war.
Someone pointed out that
rank all the wars.
This is super random, but in AP Euro, just all year. Like, in the beginning, we saw that there was this thing called the War of the Roses, and we were like, are we not going to talk about this? He was like, you're not going to get a question on it. And someone, I can't remember who it was, but someone on the other side of the class was just like, you're going to say this, and then it'll be on the test, watch. So all year, War of the Roses, we would just, like, bring it, like, what the fuck was it? We're not going to Google it, so, like, you got to tell us now. So, like, if, this is on you. And then first question on the AP test was, like, what was the inspiration for the War of the Roses? And, like, most of us apparently got the right answer just off of, like, pulled it out of our ass. Like, I don't know how. I don't think I did. But anytime just multiple wars come up, like the War of the Roses was the first one to come up in my head, and I still don't know what it is.
So that's your number one war?
That's my first war is the War of the Roses. My second one is probably the Clone Wars.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Third is the Console Wars, and then the Gear Wars, and then Bionicles had wars, right?
Yeah,
right.
I think so. I don't know.
Maybe
I don't
not
remember
full on
enough
wars,
about
just like coups.
War.
Coup. Coup d'état.
Coup d'état.
Coup d'etat.
I definitely said it like that for way too long before ever hearing someone say it out loud.
I heard coup d'etat pronounced and I was like, what is that? And then once I saw it written down, I was like, that's the thing from the thing.
For me, that was hors d'oeuvres. Like, I heard the term for so long, and then I would see it written and have no idea what the word was, and then finally I connected the two, like, when I was an adult. Like, way too late. Like, I was like, what is this word, hors d'oeuvres? And I just had no idea that was hors d'oeuvres, but I knew completely what hors d'oeuvres were. Like, it wasn't like I didn't know what the word was. I just had no idea that it was spelled like that, and that was the word that I was confused by for so many years.
This is dumb. Like, if we're just talking about shit like this. The other day, I heard someone say, like, the ground for experience. Like, instead of grinding for experience. Because in the past, I was just like, oh, there is no fucking past tense for grind. Cause, like, in the video game sense, but, like, whatever. When you said it the first time, I was just like, the ground for experience? Like, it took me way too long to connect that, like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Words are funny sometimes.
Words are fun in Star Wars times.
Mm-hmm. So any last things to touch on? I feel pretty optimistic, even though I wasn't a big fan of Rise of Skywalker. I'm glad they're taking a few years break from the movies, but I'm also glad that doesn't seem like they're taking a break overall. They're kind of continuing what is working right now.
Yeah, like there's more Star Wars now, I feel, than there has been in years past, and I think that's good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people talking about how, like, TV is the future of Star Wars. Like, I love Star Wars on TV now, probably more than Star Wars anywhere else. But I think we're going to see another $1 billion Star Wars movie. Like, like it'll be fine. It'll be fine. The break will do it well. It'll create the hunger for it again, especially if, Mandalorian continues to be a success. Like, the fact that it is such a wide appeal show, like it's a very inside inside baseball, with a lot of the references, but it's clearly appealing to a wide enough audience that it's going to keep the
even if you don't watch the show, you, like, care about Baby Yoda because of Twitter. Like, even if you don't, it's hard to escape Star Wars. Like, I feel like historically it's been hard to escape it, but now it is, like, everywhere, especially with social media and them playing to social media. Because I am 1 billion% convinced that, like, the sipping the cup, like Yoda sipping, that was a meme first. Like, someone thought of that as, like, well, how do we, like, what would be a cute thing now that we have this little Baby Yoda thing? Let's make him do the, like, Kermit sipping tea. Like, and then it worked. Like, it's one of my favorite memes.
It did. It will last, I think. Yeah.
So like, if I were to send you like Star Wars related memes or questions about your thoughts on the whole Star Wars Skywalker saga, a lot of S's in that, where would I find you?
I had no idea what you were teeing up just there. I was so confused. You can find me at eWilshire Prime on Twitter and Instagram. Also on YouTube, youtube.com/c/Edward Wilshire. You can find my byline on CBR, Comic Book Resources. I think that covers it. Watch this. Listen to the Save Greendale Committee. When this airs, an episode will have gone up yesterday because we're back now for the second half of season 1, recapping every episode of Community. Check that out. Check everything else out that I do, and follow Bo as well.
Follow me at Brother Grim Bo with 2 M's. I don't do much. I'm gonna probably post a lot of pictures of this cat. If no one,
follow the cat story. I want to know about that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna. I know that I need to ethically find it the rightful owner if there is one, but I'm also like, if your cat follows me home, it's my cat now. So like,
it has chosen you.
Like it is, Like he's such a good boy. Okay,
I'm glad because you were definitely not a cat person when we met.
Oh no, I was very much like, I will kick your cat in the face type person. Like I was scared of cats. Like it was not good.
This is why I'm convinced that one day you'll very much have a kid and love it dearly.
I know, like,
hate kids.
At some point, just I don't know. Like I don't want to talk about it.
All right. Well, rather than trapping Bo in that, we'll end it here. So as usual, #stay loose, and we'll see you guys next week.
Stay loose.